It was a typical Saturday night in late autumn, the kind where the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across our living room. The air was tinged with the aroma of garlic and rosemary, wafting from the kitchen as I prepared dinner. Lisa was in her element, arranging the table with care, her laughter ringing like music as she shared anecdotes with Mia and Jake, who had just arrived. "Jake, you better not eat all the bread this time," Lisa teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief as she placed a fresh loaf on the table. "Hey, I can't help it if your bread is irresistible." Jake shot back with a grin, tearing off a piece and popping it into his mouth. Mia rolled her eyes playfully. "Just save some for the rest of us, will you? You know Lisa only makes enough for 3. I chuckled, the warmth of camaraderie enveloping us. "We can always order pizza if he eats us out of house and home," I quipped, moving the pot of pasta to the center of the table. "Now that's a dinner option I can get behind," Jake said, winking at me. As we settled into the meal, the conversation flowed easily. We reminisced about old times, sharing stories of trips we'd taken together and the hilarious misadventures that came with them. Lisa and Mia exchanged knowing glances, their laughter blending harmoniously with the clinking of wine glasses. But as the night wore on, the tone shifted ever so slightly when Lisa leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. "You know," she began, her voice carrying a lightness that felt oddly misplaced, "sometimes when partners are away, things can happen. It's just human nature." The room fell silent, the warmth of the evening replaced by a sudden chill. My fork paused midway to my mouth, and I exchanged a glance with Mia, whose smile faltered just a touch. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual, though my heart raced. Lisa shrugged, seemingly unfazed. "I mean, it's not uncommon for people to stray. Travel can be lonely, and sometimes you just find yourself in a situation." "Yeah, but isn't that a bit risky?" Mia chimed in, a frown creasing her brow. "I mean, it's one thing to be tempted, but to actually act on it." "True," Lisa conceded, her smile returning, though it seemed tinged with something I couldn't quite place. "But you never know what can happen when you're far from home. It's just a thought." The comment hung in the air like a cloud, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper lurked beneath her words. I tried to focus on the conversation, but the unease settled in my stomach, each bite of pasta tasting bland. As the evening progressed, I watched Lisa's interactions with Jake closely. Their laughter felt too intimate, their exchanges laden with a familiarity that gnawed at me. Were they really just friends? Or was there something more? I struggled to push the thoughts aside, but the seed of doubt had been planted. After dinner, we moved to the living room, where we settled on the couch with glasses of wine in hand. Lisa recounted a funny incident from her work, and Mia laughed, leaning into Jake's side. The closeness of their bodies sent another jolt of unease through me. "Hey, remember that time we got locked out of the hotel room in Mexico?" Mia asked, her eyes sparkling with mirth. "I thought we were going to have to call the front desk in our pajamas." "Of course, I remember." "I was so embarrassed," Lisa replied, her laughter echoing in the room. Jake laughed, shaking his head. "You two were a sight to see. I'll never forget the look on your faces when you realized you left the key in the room." But I barely heard their banter, my mind racing with unformed thoughts. When the clock chimed 10, I was relieved when Jake and Mia finally stood to leave. As they gathered their things, I could still feel the tension thick in the air. "Thanks for dinner, it was amazing as always," Mia said, giving Lisa a warm hug. "Yeah, it was a great night," Jake added, clapping me on the shoulder. "Let's do this again soon." After they left, the door clicked shut behind them, and the silence that followed felt deafening. I turned to Lisa, who was cleaning up, her back to me. I had so many questions swirling in my mind, doubts that threatened to unravel everything we'd built together. "Hey, can we talk?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lisa turned, her brow furrowing. "What's wrong? You seem off." I couldn't help but feel uneasy about what you said earlier," I confessed, the words tumbling out. About partners being tempted when they're away. She stepped closer, her expression softening. It was just a thought, really. You know I would never, would you? I interrupted, my heart pounding as I searched her eyes for the truth. Lisa's gaze faltered for a moment, and in that brief silence, my heart sank further into uncertainty. The evening had taken a turn I hadn't expected, and the feeling that something was amiss settled heavily over me. As I helped her with the dishes, the warmth of our earlier laughter felt like a distant memory, replaced by the cold shadow of doubt looming between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that this casual dinner had set off a chain of events that would lead us down a path I never wanted to explore. The days following our dinner with Mia and Jake stretched into a blur, each moment weighed down by the suffocating tension that hung in the air. The bright autumn leaves outside my window fluttered in the breeze, a stark contrast to the darkness gathering within me. Lisa moved around the house with an air of normalcy, her laughter echoing through the rooms, but I found myself increasingly isolated in my thoughts, a silent observer in my own life. It was Monday morning, and I sat at the kitchen table, the coffee steaming beside me, but I had lost my appetite. Lisa entered, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, her face glowing with the remnants of sleep. She flashed me a warm smile, but it felt like a mask, a veneer over something deeper. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she chirped, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "Ready for a new week?" I forced a smile, but my heart wasn't in it. "Yeah, just trying to wake up," I replied, staring into my cup as if it held the answers I was searching for. "How did you sleep?" "Like a rock," she said, sipping her coffee. "I had the strangest dream about our trip to Italy. Remember that little cafe we found near the Duomo?" "Yeah, I remember," I said absently, my mind racing. Did you ever think about what you said the other night?" She looked up, her brow furrowing slightly. "What do you mean?" "About partners straying when they're away," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil roiling inside. "Is that really something you think about?" Lisa paused, her eyes narrowing slightly as she processed my words. "I think it's a reality for some people, but it doesn't mean it applies to us." "Why are you asking?" "I don't know, Lisa. It just struck me as odd," I admitted, my frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "It felt like you were speaking from experience." "Don't be ridiculous," she snapped, her voice sharp. "You know me better than that. I would never betray you." "I want to believe that," I said, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "But ever since that night, I can't shake the feeling that something's off." "I don't know what you want me to say," she replied, her tone softening but her eyes hardening. "I can't control what you're feeling. Maybe you should talk to someone about it." "Maybe I will," I retorted, my voice rising before I could rein it in. "It's not just paranoia, Lisa. I feel like I'm losing you." She shook her head, the tension between us palpable. "You're overthinking this. Just trust me." But trust felt like a fragile thread, and as the day dragged on, I found it impossible to let go of my fears. Work became a blur of spreadsheets and meetings, but my mind wandered back to the dinner, replaying the scene in vivid detail. Lisa's laughter with Jake echoed in my ears, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw their interactions flash before me like a poorly edited video reel. That evening, I decided to reach out to my old friend, Mike, a guy I'd known since college. He was always a good listener, and I needed someone to voice my concerns to. As we spoke on the phone, I found solace in his familiar voice. "Dude, it sounds like you're overreacting," Mike said, a hint of laughter in his tone. "It was just dinner with friends. You know Lisa loves you." "I know she does," I replied, running a hand through my hair. "But that comment, it just keeps playing in my head. What if I'm missing something? What if she's hiding something?" "Have you asked her directly?" he suggested. "You need to have an open conversation. You can't let this fester." "I tried," I admitted, frustration creeping into my voice. "But she brushes it off like it's nothing." "Maybe she's just trying to keep things light," Mike replied. "You know how some people are. But if it's bothering you, you've got to get to the bottom of it." I'm thinking about hiring a private investigator, I blurted out before I could stop myself. Wait, what? That's a bit extreme, don't you think? Mike asked, his tone shifting to concern. I don't know, man. I need to know the truth, I said, my voice dropping. If there's something going on, I want to find out before it's too late. Just be careful, all right? You might not like what you find, he warned, but his words faded as I hung up, my mind racing. The next few days passed in a haze. I watched Lisa, scrutinizing her every movement. She was busy with work, often on her phone, which sent my anxiety into overdrive. Late-night emails and hurried phone calls became the norm, and I could feel the distance growing between us like an unbridgeable chasm. On Wednesday evening, she returned home late, a slight flush on her cheeks that caught my attention. Long day? I asked, trying to sound casual. Just a meeting that ran over, she replied, shrugging off her coat. I didn't expect to be out so late. Jake was there? I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. What? No. It was a group meeting, she snapped, her eyes flashing with irritation. Why are you being so paranoid? Because it feels like you're hiding something. I shot back, frustration boiling over. You've been acting different ever since the dinner. Lisa crossed her arms, her expression hardening. I can't keep living under this microscope. If you don't trust me, maybe we need to rethink things. Her words hung in the air, heavy and accusatory, but I felt the ground shift beneath me. I wanted to believe her, to trust that we were solid. But the nagging doubts had taken root, and I felt powerless against them. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding in the darkness. I knew I had to confront my fears head-on. I couldn't live in this limbo, trapped between doubt and love. I needed answers, even if they were painful. So, I turned to the internet, searching for private investigators, feeling the knot in my stomach tighten with each click. I didn't want to betray Lisa's trust, but I had to know the truth. The seeds of doubt had taken hold, and the only way to dispel them was to uncover what lay beneath the surface, no matter how painful the revelation might be. The morning sun spilled through the bedroom window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the weight of my decision pressing down on me. It was time. I had collected enough evidence to justify my suspicions, and the thought of confronting Lisa sent a shiver of dread through me. After a restless night, I finally rose, my heart pounding as I prepared for the confrontation. I had gathered video footage from the private investigators, brief glimpses of Lisa and Jake together, laughing, their chemistry undeniable. I felt sick just thinking about it, but I needed to face the truth. As I made my way to the kitchen, the aroma of coffee filled the air. Lisa was already up, moving around with her usual grace. She looked up, a smile lighting her face. Good morning. Sleep well? Not really, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. I poured myself a cup of coffee, the warmth of the mug grounding me as I tried to gather my thoughts. Long night? She asked, eyeing me curiously. Yeah, just couldn't stop thinking, I said, keeping my gaze on the counter. I had to remain steady. About us. Lisa's smile faltered slightly, a flicker of concern crossing her features. What do you mean? Can we sit down for a minute? I need to talk to you about something serious, I said, feeling the gravity of the moment settle over us. She placed her cup down, her expression shifting from casual to apprehensive. Sure. What's going on? We moved to the living room, and I motioned for her to sit. My hands trembled slightly as I pulled out my phone and opened the video files. I've been feeling uneasy since our dinner with Mia and Jake, especially after what you said about partners being tempted when they're away. What does that have to do with anything? She asked, her voice rising slightly. Everything, I said, my tone firm. I hired someone to follow you. I thought it would ease my mind, but instead, it confirmed my worst fears. Her eyes widened in shock. You what? You hired a private investigator. Are you serious? Watch, I said, pressing play on the first video. The footage showed Lisa and Jake walking out of a restaurant, their laughter echoing through the speakers. They leaned in close, and Lisa's hand brushed against Jake's arm. What is this? Lisa asked, her voice trembling. What does this prove? We were just having dinner. Dinner? This was more than dinner, Lisa. I shot back, watching her reaction closely. You were clearly enjoying his company, and I can't help but think there's something more going on between you two. That's ridiculous, she exclaimed, her voice rising as she stood up, pacing the room. You're taking this completely out of context. We're friends, and that's it. Friends don't act like this. I countered, my frustration boiling over. I can see the chemistry, Lisa. You can't deny it. She stopped, her back to me, her shoulders tense. You're being paranoid. I can't believe you would go this far. You don't trust me at all. I'm trying to protect myself. I yelled, my heart racing. You dropped a bombshell at dinner, and I can't shake the feeling that you've been hiding something. You've been different lately. Lisa turned to face me, tears brimming in her eyes. You think I want to hurt you? I've never cheated on you, and I would never even think about it. Then why does it feel like I don't even know you anymore? I asked, my voice softer now, as I tried to bridge the widening gap between us. Everything you've said and done since that night, it's like you've created this distance. Her expression softened slightly, and I saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath her anger. I'm sorry if I've seemed distant. Work has been stressful, and I thought we were okay. I didn't realize you felt this way. It's hard to believe we're okay when I see you with him, I admitted, the pain lacing my voice. I don't want to be that guy, but I need to know if you've crossed a line. Fine. Ask me, she said, her voice shaking. Have I ever cheated on you? No. Have I ever even considered it? No. I love you, and I don't want to lose you over something that isn't even true. Then what were you doing with Jake? I pressed, feeling a mix of anger and desperation. We were just talking. You know how he can be, charming and funny, she replied, her voice wavering. But that doesn't mean anything. I promise you, I'm loyal to you. Why should I believe you? I challenged, my heart racing. You've given me every reason to doubt you. Because I'm here, and I'm fighting for us, she exclaimed, her eyes fierce. I'm not perfect, but I haven't betrayed you. You're the one who's turned to suspicion instead of talking to me. The silence that followed was heavy, each word hanging in the air like a fragile thread. I felt the anger dissipate, replaced by a profound sadness. I don't want to lose you, Lisa, but I can't keep living like this. If you're not hiding anything, then why does it feel like I'm losing you? I don't know, she cried, her voice breaking. But I need you to trust me. We can get through this together if you'll just let me in. The walls I had built around my heart felt like they were beginning to crumble. Maybe I had jumped to conclusions, but the doubt gnawed at me like a relentless itch. I ran a hand through my hair, the uncertainty swirling in my mind. I'm sorry for hiring someone to follow you, I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. I thought it would give me clarity, but instead, it's made everything worse. I just needed to know if I was right to worry. Lisa stepped closer, her expression shifting from anger to sorrow. You don't have to apologize, but we need to have an open line of communication from now on. I don't want secrets between us. I never wanted to make you feel this way. I looked into her eyes, searching for the truth I so desperately needed to see. Can we really move forward from this? Can we rebuild the trust that's been shattered? We have to, she said softly, reaching for my hand. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope amid the turmoil. Maybe we could navigate this together, but it would take time and honesty. As we stood there, hands clasped, I realized the confrontation had opened a door, and I was willing to step through it, hoping to find the path back to each other. The days that followed our confrontation were filled with a mix of uncertainty and cautious optimism. Lisa and I found ourselves in a delicate dance, each step carefully placed as we worked to rebuild what had been shaken. It wasn't easy. Every lingering glance, every offhand comment felt loaded with the weight of our recent struggles. But we were both committed to healing, determined to find a way through the fog of doubt that had clouded our relationship. One evening, a week after our confrontation, we sat together on the couch, the glow of the television casting soft light around the room. Lisa had prepared a simple dinner, and the comforting aroma of her homemade chili filled the air. I could see the effort she was making, and it warmed my heart, even as remnants of doubt still lingered in the back of my mind. "I've been thinking," I said, breaking the comfortable silence as I set my bowl down. "Maybe we should try to spend more time together. Just us. No distractions." Lisa looked at me, her eyes brightening. "I'd love that. How about we plan a weekend getaway? Just the two of us. Somewhere we can relax and reconnect." "Sounds perfect," I replied, a smile creeping onto my face. "We can revisit that little cabin by the lake we used to love." "Exactly," she said, her enthusiasm infectious. "We can go hiking, cook together, just unplug from everything for a couple of days." As we discussed our plans, I felt a sense of hope blooming in my chest. It was the first time in weeks that I truly felt connected to Lisa again, and the excitement of a shared adventure helped dissolve some of the tension that had lingered. That Saturday, as we drove to the cabin, the vibrant autumn colors whizzed by the window, reminding me of how beautiful the world could be when seen through a lens of love and possibility. Lisa turned up the music, filling the car with our favorite playlist, and we sang along, our voices mingling in joyful harmony. Once we arrived, the cabin greeted us with the familiar scent of pine and the gentle crackle of a fireplace waiting to be lit. Lisa beamed as she unpacked the car, and I felt the warmth of nostalgia wash over me. This was our safe space, a place filled with memories that I hoped would anchor us back to solid ground. As we settled in, I watched Lisa as she moved about the kitchen, chopping vegetables and humming softly to herself. There was a lightness to her demeanor that I hadn't seen in a while, and it filled me with gratitude. "You know, I've missed this," I said, leaning against the counter, my arms crossed. "Just being with you, like this." Lisa glanced up, her smile radiant. "Me too. It's nice to escape the everyday grind and just focus on us for a change." After dinner, we curled up on the couch in front of the fireplace, a warm blanket wrapped around us. The flickering flames danced in the darkness, casting a cozy glow around the room. "Can I ask you something?" I said, my voice hesitant. "Of course," Lisa replied, her eyes locking onto mine, attentive and open. "Do you ever think about what happened? About Jake?" I asked, the question hanging in the air. "I want to understand how we got to that point." She took a deep breath, her expression shifting to one of contemplation. "I think about it a lot. I realize now how careless I was with my words and how that might have made you feel. I just need to know you're committed to us," I said, feeling vulnerable. "After everything, I don't want to go back to the way things were." "I am," she said earnestly. "I want to work on us. I realize that I took you for granted, thinking you knew how much you meant to me. But I see now how that created a rift between us. I'm here, and I'm committed." "Good," I said, relief flooding through me. "Because I want to be here too. I don't want us to fall into old patterns." "Agreed," she said, her voice steady. "We need to communicate more. No more hiding our feelings, even when it's uncomfortable." "Right," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "Let's promise to be honest with each other, no matter how tough it gets." "Deal," Lisa said, reaching for my hand, our fingers intertwining. "We'll make it through this together." As we sat in the glow of the fire, I felt a renewed sense of hope for our future. We were taking steps forward, small but significant, and I believed we could emerge stronger together. The following week, we returned home, and I noticed a shift in our dynamic. We talked more openly, sharing our thoughts and feelings without the fear of judgment. Lisa started asking about my day more often, and I found myself doing the same, eager to connect in every way I could. One evening, as we prepared dinner together, Lisa turned to me with a thoughtful expression. You know, I've been thinking about what you said regarding our trust. Maybe we should consider couples therapy. Just to give us a strong foundation to build on. I nodded, appreciating her initiative. I think that's a great idea. It's important for us to address these issues head-on. Exactly, she said, her smile genuine. I want us to be the best version of ourselves, both individually and as a couple. As we continued cooking, I felt the tension that had once gripped our lives begin to dissolve. The love and laughter returned, filling the spaces between us with warmth. We spent that weekend in the cabin with the same sense of camaraderie we had once enjoyed, enjoying long walks, cooking together, and just being. One evening, as we sat by the lake, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I turned to her, my heart full. Thank you for being willing to work on us. I know it won't always be easy, but I believe we're on the right path. Lisa leaned her head against my shoulder, her voice soft. We are. I love you, and I'm grateful we can face this together. I love you too, I replied, feeling the sincerity of my words resonate within me. And I'm looking forward to what comes next. As the stars began to twinkle above, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We had weathered a storm, and though the scars would take time to heal, we were moving forward, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead.